Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we're going over my cheat sheet for tomorrow night's race at Richmond International Speedway, the Federated Auto Parts 400. Hope you guys had a fantastic week last week. We were heavy on Truex, heavy on Joey, heavy on Kess, and Tiff did well. So it was a pretty good week last week. Hope you guys did great. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. If I get access to the cheat sheet I put together for every race, my projections, rankings, GP driver exposure, target page, all that good stuff, links in the description below for my Patreon. Anyway, let's get into the race. So let's go over some of the info and preview of this track. So this is the Federated Auto Parts 400 at Richmond International Speedway. It's a D-shaped track. It's 1.75 mile in length. It's very small, which means we got a lot of laps. We got 400 laps in this race. So that means Dominator points will be king. There's 300 Dominator points available. And some strategy and tips for this racetrack. We're going to want 1 to 3 Dominators per lineup. Mostly going to be looking at 2. It's hard to fit in 3. Usually you can do 3 when there's like a cheap guy on the pole or something, but not really the case this week. And the most important thing is this is an impound race, and that will be at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow. So if you're new to NASCAR DFS, an impound race sucks. That means that the qualifying times that were just happened a little bit ago, these are not final, so these can change tomorrow. They will have inspection at 1:30, and if a car fails once, their qualifying time will be disqualified, and they will start from the back and be scored from the back. So normally, if something happens the next day, and they end up going to the rear, they'll still be scored from where they originally qualified. This is not the case for this track. So let's say let's say Brad Keselowski, who's on the pole, he ends up failing inspection tomorrow. He's going to be scored from the back, say he's like 37th or something. He'll be scored as 37th. Whereas a normal track, or a normal race day, he'd be scored as first still. So that's that. Make sure you keep an eye out for the changes. I probably won't be able to do an update video because I'm going to be very busy on Saturday with MLB and NFL. So if you want all the updates, links in the description below for my Patreon. And let's get into the driver by driver breakdown, which I'm not going to go over every driver, but I'm going to go over some of my favorite drivers. So let's get into it. So first off, Kyle Busch at $12,000. He's always the highest priced driver. It's for a good reason. It's Kyle Busch. He's a monster. He's $12,000 this week, which is very expensive. Qualified 4th, and honestly, I'm not sure how much Kyle Busch I'm going to have this week because there's some other guys I like better, and he's just so expensive. It's hard to make lineups with him. Nothing against Kyle Busch. He's obviously the best driver in the, almost said the league, thinking of NFL, but in the series. But he's been great here, averaging 70 DraftKings points per race, average driver rating of 107, average finish of 7. He's gotten 2 wins the past 5 races, in the top 10 80% of the time, top 5 40% of the time. Obviously, he's great here, averaging 53 laps led per race, average running position of 7, averaging 29 fast laps. There's nothing bad to say about him but the price tag. And if he was on the pole, I'd be all about him. But starting 4th, there's a chance he does not get up front and lead laps. And recently, Kyle Busch has qualified very late, so like in the mid-20s, which makes him a fantastic play no matter what. Qualifying 4th, that makes him a little risky because, when he's this expensive, when he qualifies in the back, he just has a nice safe floor because he's going to get up to the front. Qualifying 4th, though, there is some risk here. If he doesn't get up front, he will be screwed with this price tag, and so will you. And the thing is, Brad Keselowski's on the pole. I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about him starting 4th if there wasn't some like lower tier drivers ahead of him, but it's kind of packed up there. I mean, Kevin Harvick's 2nd, Brad Keselowski's 1st, Chase Elliott's 3rd. It's not going to be the easiest sledding for him to get up there. So I understand wanting to be underweight on him in GPPs. It's Kyle Busch. He always carries ownership, and honestly, it's going to be tough for him to hit value. He's not going to hit value if he doesn't get up front. So being underweight, kind of my strategy at this moment. I haven't done too much thought into it, but just some early initial thoughts. I can't see myself having too much Kyle Busch. Kevin Harvick, I probably won't have too much of him either because I really prefer Brad Keselowski. He's only 9,800, and you're getting about 2K savings off of Kevin Harvick, and he's on the pole. Kevin Harvick's going to have to get past Brad Keselowski to start, and I honestly don't see it happening, but he has been very good here. He was good in practice, was 5th in the 10 lap, 6th in the 10 lap in practice 1. If you look at his numbers here, they're not as great as the top tier drivers, but they're still fine. 55 DraftKings points per race, average driver rating of 112, which I believe is 2nd best out of all drivers. Average finish of 6.2 in the top 5, 80% of the time. there's nothing bad I can say here. He's averaging 31 fast laps per race, 18 laps led. He's a fine play, but I much prefer Brad Keselowski. That's why I don't even have him as a dominator, because I'm going to be much heavier on Brad Keselowski. But there's always a chance that he gets ahead of Keselowski on the restart or the start of the race, and he ends up dominating, and then I will be very sad because I'm not going to have too much Kevin Harvick. And then we got Martin Truex Jr. at 11K. He qualified 8th, which I do like because it offers him a little bit of a floor because he's most likely going to move up, and he has dominated here. So if you look at his average DraftKings points per race, it leads all drivers by about 8 at 81. Average driver rating of 121, which is the best. Has ceiling driver rating of 138, which is the best. His floor driver rating is better than a lot of people's ceilings, or I should say average. It's at 102, average finish of 9.6. He does have a win here in the top 5 40% of the time, top 10 60% of the time, averaging 203 fast laps per race here. 203, averaging 134 average laps led. And I'm sorry, I looked at that wrong. He's averaging 40 fast laps led per race here. 203 was in total in the past 5 races, but still very great. Best in both categories for average laps led and average fast laps. Average running position of 4.2, which is the best. Martin Truex Jr. is an awesome play. He's one of my favorite plays on this slate, I guess you want to call it. I'm thinking of baseball and NFL terms, but definitely like Truex. He's 11,100. You get about 900 savings off of Kyle Busch, and he's starting further back, and he's dominated here. He was good in practice too, 6th in the 10 lap, 1st in the 1 lap, which I don't like using 1 lap data, but do like Martin Truex Jr. a lot, and he does give you a little bit of place differential upside. Denny Hamlin, someone I'm not going to have much of this week or even at all. He's cheaper at 10,600. He was 1st in the 10 lap in practice too, but he's just around so many good cars. Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski. It's going to be tough for him, and honestly, I do not see him winning that battle between the rest of those guys. Then Joey Logano, he is going to be a chalk monster this week, coming off the good week last week. It would have been even better, but he did get some damage, but he did dominate the race. He qualified 28th. He's 10,200, and he is good here. He was good in practice. Not in the practice 1, but practice 2 he is fine. Averaging 57 DraftKings points per race here. Average driver rating of 110. Average finish of 4.6, which is the best of all drivers. Does have a win here. He's in the top 5 80% of the time, top 15 100% of the time. He's going to move up. I think he is arguably the best play out of anyone this week, and he's the safest play. He's going to move up. He's a cash game staple, and I'll tell you this right now. I know people gave me some grief last time because I said to lock Kyle Busch starting 33rd. Well, guess what? I'm going to lock Joey Logano this week. If he wrecks, I'll take the L on there, but I'm going to trust Joey Logano this week starting 28th. If he sucks, he sucks. I don't see it happening, guys. So definitely like Joey Logano. And then in the next tier, we got Brad Keselowski at 9,800. He nabbed the pole, and I'm going to have a ton of Brad Keselowski. It's kind of just like last week. I had a ton of Martin Truex Jr., I had a ton of Joey Logano, and I had a ton of Brad Keselowski. Pretty much the same strategy this week, and I love Brad Keselowski. I loved him coming into the week, and I'm really glad he got the pole because he is cheap. He's 9,800. I don't understand why he's this cheap, but he is. And we'll take it. He's averaging the second most DraftKings points per race here at 73. Average driver rating of 108. Average finish of 7.4. Does not have a win here in the past 5 races, but he is in the top 10 80% of the time. He should lead a good portion of this race. I love Brad Keselowski this weekend. Kyle Larson, more of a GPP play for me. He qualified 13th. Was decent in practice. Not the best in practice too. 37 DraftKings points per race here, not the best. Does have a ceiling drive rating here of 125. Does have a win in the top 10 60% of the time, top 5 20% of the time. Don't love the play. I can't see him fitting in my lineups too much, but if you want to play him, no one's going to own him, so I don't mind Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott, I honestly just don't see him dominating. He's Kevin Harvick and Brett Keselowski are in front of him. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. right behind him, so is Hamlin. I think it's going to be tough for Chase Elliott to pay off here. Eric Jones, he is not the best here. I don't mind him in GPPs, but starting 16th, he tends to screw me a lot. Whenever I play the guy, he wrecks. Whenever I don't, he finishes or wins the race. So, but just someone I'm not too on this week. He's averaging 29 DraftKings points per race here, which is not great. Average driver rating of 71, average finish of 16.4. In the top 15, 80% of the time, which isn't bad, but just not too interested in Eric Jones this weekend. Kurt Busch starting 9th, probably not going to do it. He's not bad here, though, but just starting 9th at 9K, I'd rather go somewhere else. Ryan Blaney, though, I do like Ryan Blaney a lot this week. He showed some major speed in practice, But you know what happens every single time he shows speed in practice? He sucks during the race. It's weird. I don't get it. But he was second in the 10 lap in practice too. Ryan Blaney's not the best here. I will say that. But does have an average DraftKings points per race here of 8.5. Now, there are some circumstances why he's this bad here. So you're going to have to take those out and kind of look past that. He's a good driver. But he's not the best here at all. But starting 15th, I like the speed he showed. This is all about the practice speed. No, he has not been good here, but I think he's worth a shot at 8,800. And I like Team Penske here. Ryan Blaney's part of Team Penske. Maybe this is a bounce back race for him at this racetrack. Clint Boyer, he's pretty good here, but starting 5th, I don't see how he's going to dominate this race, and that's what he's going to need to do. Starting 5th to pay off our salary. Alex Bowman, William Byron, two Hendrick Motorsports teammates here. I think they're both in play. They both qualified bad. Now, they're both not the best here. They're both only averaging 27, 29 DraftKings points per race here. But their average finishes are both around 15. And starting 20th and 25th at 8,400 and 8,200, I think they are in play. I wish they were a little bit cheaper, but they should be able to fit in your lineups nice place differential plays. William Byron is in the top 15, 67% of the time. Starting 25th, I will take that. Ryan Newman, he's a decent place differential play. Actually, should have gave him the blue tag in the beginning, but he actually is not that bad here. Average finish of 14.2, averaging 37 DraftKings points per race here. Average drive rating of 181. He's in the top 10, 60% of the time. That's pretty good. Top 5, 20% of the time. He's actually not a very bad play at all. 8K, starting 19th. I think he's in play. In the next tier, I do not like whatsoever. Not going to have much of Eric Amarola at all. Jimmy Johnson, no. Although he's not that bad here. He qualified 10th, and he's got an average DraftKings points per race here of 49.5, average driver rating of 81.9, average finish of 9. He's in the top 10, 60% of the time, top 15, 100% of the time. Honestly, not the worst play. And now, the more that I think about it, I'm going to give him that GPP tag. Was he good in practice, though? Absolutely not. That's kind of what's throwing me off of him. But still, he's got some good history here. Matt DiBenedetto qualified a little too high for me. Same with Daniel Suarez, even though Suarez actually has been pretty good here. But starting 14th, not too interested, although he does have an average finish of 12.8, but not going to make my cuts really this weekend. I'd much rather play Chris Buescher, who I know has not been very good here, but he's been very good this season, really taking a step up. Now, I know the numbers are not impressive whatsoever at all, but at 7K, starting 23rd, he's going to be popular, and I do think he is in play to be a nice play for differential play. And Paul Menard, 6,900. He qualified 24th. Again, he's not very good here, but he's a little bit too cheap in my opinion, and he should be fine. Practice, not good, but practice times were a little bit faster than where he qualified, but only averaging 26 DraftKings points per race here. Average finish is 21, which is better than where he's qualifying, so I don't mind taking a shot at Paul Menard. Austin Dillon, I hate Austin Dillon. I hate playing this guy. Whenever I play him, he is absolute trash. I just know that now, but I do think he's interesting in GPPs. He's only 6,800, qualified 17th, which may seem a little high. And I know his practice sucked, but he's been pretty good at Richmond. He has an average DraftKings points race here at 46.5, average finish of 13.6, which actually is pretty incredible when you look at the rest of these guys in this price range. So I do think he's in play. He's in the top 10, 40% of the time, top 15, 60% of the time. Chances are he's going to move up. Although I will say, though, I hate playing Austin Dillon. So know the risks there, but I do think he's in play for GPPs. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is pretty much in the same boat, just a GPP play only. He's 6,600, qualified 18th, averaging 30 DraftKings points per race here, but does have an average finish of 15. He's in the top 5, 20% of the time, top 15, 40% of the time, top 20, 80% of the time. I don't think he's the worst play in the world this weekend. Bubba Wallace, he is not good here, averaging only 12 DraftKings points per race here. Practice was not good for him either. Average finish of 26, though. He should move up. I know he's a little bit more expensive than I'd like him to be, but he is in play as a cheap guy. Ty Dillon, he's one of my favorite plays of the week just because how cheap he is, and he's coming off that awesome race last week. He finished really high. I forget exactly where it was, but 6,200, qualified 31st. He's going to move up. He has an average finish here of 20, averaging 25 DraftKings points per race here. He should be fine. He did get a top 20 before in the past 5 races. So Ty Dillon is one of my favorite cheap drivers of the week. Daniel Hemrick, Ryan Preece, not in love with them. Ross Chastain qualified a little bit too high for me. The typical cheap guys, Corey LaJoie and Matt Tifft, they're both in play. They're just a little bit better than most of these guys back here, so I don't mind using those guys every single week, although I wish they qualified in the 30s. They did not, but maybe one of them will go to the back for impound tomorrow. So Michael McDowell qualified way too high for me. David Reagan, not, don't really love it. 2,300. I'll give him the cheap tag though, just because he's qualified 27th, but still not in love with the play. Landon Castle qualified 36, and I think he's gonna have to move up maybe a little bit. Does have an average finish here of 29 the past 5 races. And other than that, it gets ugly quick, and I would never recommend playing any of these guys. And like I said, this is an impound race, so a lot of these plays can change. Maybe the whole thing changes tomorrow. I will not be able to do an update video, but I will have an update on my Patreon and the spreadsheet. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. Remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and I'll see you guys in the next video.